I never thought I'd hear my own family talk about me like I didn't matter. It all started by chance. Maybe it was a mistake, or maybe it was meant to happen. My older sister Ruth had just bought a new phone, so she left her old one behind. My phone was barely working, so I started using hers without thinking much about it. I didn't even clear any of her old data. One night, I was lying in bed, scrolling through apps when a message popped up. It was from a group chat called Family Priority, a chat I didn't even know existed. Curious, I tapped on it. What I read made my heart sink. Ruth wrote, "Ugh, she's so pathetic. She'll always put us first even when we treat her like trash." Then Mom replied, "That's what she's for. She's never had a backbone. Just like her father." Ruth responded, "It's actually funny. She works extra shifts to help pay bills, but she never does anything for herself." Mom added, "Because she knows she's not worth more than that." Ruth said, "I bet if we asked, she'd give up her college fund for my wedding." Mom answered, "We should try and see." As I read their messages, tears filled my eyes. My vision blurred, and my hands shook as I held the phone. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. These were the people I had spent my life caring for, sacrificing for. I stayed up late cooking when Mom was too tired. I gave Ruth money when she needed it. I always put their needs before my own. And they laughed at me for it. They didn't see love or effort. They saw weakness. They thought I was a joke. I felt a deep pain in my chest, but it quickly turned into anger. They believed I'd always be there, always giving, always quiet. They thought I'd never stand up for myself. So I let them keep thinking that just for a little while. For the next few days, I acted like nothing had changed. I still helped out in the kitchen. I still worked extra shifts to cover bills. I still smiled and nodded when Ruth talked about her wedding. But inside, I was done. Every word they said cut me like a knife. Every fake smile made me feel sick. I realized then that I wasn't really part of this family, not in the way I thought I was. And soon, I'd walk away for good. I was nothing more than their helper, their servant. And they didn't even know I had figured it out. One evening, Ruth came home beaming with joy. She dropped into the chair next to me and said, "I found the perfect wedding venue." I looked at her and pretended to care. "But there's a little problem," she added with a fake sad face. "It's kind of over budget. But I was thinking you wouldn't mind helping out, right?" Before I could say anything, Mom jumped in quickly. "You don't need college right now, sweetie. Ruth's wedding is more important." I just stared at them. The nerve they had. They didn't ask. They decided that I would give up my dreams for Ruth's big day. But I didn't let them see my anger. I just smiled and nodded. They had no idea what I was about to do. That night, I logged into my bank account. I transferred every single penny from my college savings into a new account with only my name on it. Then I started planning. Over the next few weeks, I acted exactly how they expected me to. I cooked. I cleaned. I helped around the house. I let Ruth go on and on about her wedding dress, the guest list, the cake flavors. I smiled and pretended everything was fine. But behind the scenes, I was getting ready to leave. I quietly started selling things around the house they wouldn't miss. Some old jewelry, a few designer bags, anything valuable. Every dollar went into my new account. I was building my escape fund. Then the final piece fell into place. I got a job offer in another city. Far away. A place they couldn't control me. A place where I could finally live for myself. But before I could leave, things exploded. One night, Ruth burst into my room, furious. "You still haven't sent the money for the venue," she yelled. I blinked and said, "Oh, I thought I did." Her face twisted with anger. Mom called the venue. "They haven't received anything." Just then, Mom walked into the room, arms crossed. "We need that money now." "This isn't about you," she said firmly. Something inside me broke open. I stood up. My heart was calm, but I felt a fire inside. "I don't have the money anymore," I said quietly. Ruth's face turned pale. "What do you mean?" I looked at them both. "I used it. For me." For once in my life, I chose myself. I saw fear slowly appear on their faces. Mom stepped forward, her voice sharp and angry. "That money was for the family," she said. I laughed. Really laughed. "You mean it was for Ruth?" I said. They didn't say a word. That silence was all the answer I needed. That was the moment I made my choice. I walked away. They started shouting. Ruth cried and screamed so loudly the whole house could probably hear. "How could you do this to me?" she yelled. Mom's voice trembled. "Where do you think you're going? You don't have anywhere else to go." But they were wrong. I turned and picked up the suitcase I had packed weeks ago. It had been sitting in my closet the whole time, and they never even noticed. I placed it over my shoulder, stood tall, and looked them in the eyes. "I got a job," I said calmly. "I have my own place now. I don't need you anymore." I had never seen my mother look so scared. But it wasn't because she was going to miss me. She was scared of losing the one person she could always use. I walked right past them and out the door. I walked into a life where I finally mattered. And I didn't say another word. After all the years I spent being their helper, their fixer, the one who gave up everything for them while they laughed behind my back, I was finally free. And now they were falling apart. My mother, who always spoke to me like I was a burden, was suddenly begging for my attention. Ruth, the perfect daughter they always praised while ignoring me, was now standing there with nothing. They thought I didn't matter. But the truth was, I was the one keeping everything together. And now that I was gone, they were lost. I started my new life, quietly. At first, it felt strange. Old habits are hard to break. I found myself stopping at the grocery store, unsure if I should buy something nice or stick to the cheapest item like I used to. Then I remembered there were no more family bills. No more people waiting at home for dinner. No more calls asking me to fix someone else's mess. It was just me now. So I bought the good coffee. I bought the soft blanket. I picked up all the little things I had always told myself I didn't deserve. That night, I sat in my small apartment, drinking warm coffee in silence. No shouting. No guilt. No demands. Just peace. I had never really felt peace before. But the first time I went out with my coworkers after work, something changed. It felt strange but good, almost like I was living someone else's life. I had always thought I wasn't the kind of person others wanted around. I believed I was just the one people called when they needed help. I was useful but never truly wanted. But that evening, I was sitting in a cozy restaurant, laughing with people who actually liked me. They weren't using me. They weren't pretending. They enjoyed being around me just for who I was. That feeling was new to me. I didn't know what to call it at first, but soon I realized. It was belonging. A soft, warm feeling spread through my chest. I hadn't known how much I was missing it until that moment. It had been 3 months since I last spoke to my family. 3 months of silence. 3 months of healing. 3 months of real freedom. Then one evening my phone buzzed. It was a message from Ruth. "I can't believe you're doing this to us." To me. "Do you even care about family?" I stared at the screen. My stomach turned. There was no apology. No regret. Just more guilt, more pressure. She still thought she could control me. I took a deep breath and sat quietly for a moment, thinking about how I felt. Then I did something I never thought I'd have the courage to do. I blocked her. Then I blocked my mother. I blocked every number they might use to reach me. For the first time in my life, I chose me, and it felt powerful. Days passed, then weeks. I kept expecting more messages or even someone showing up at my door, but nothing happened. Instead, I started hearing things through others. Some of my extended family, who had always stayed silent while I was mistreated, started reaching out. A few tried to guilt me too. "Your mother is struggling. She's heartbroken without you. Ruth's wedding was canceled. You should be there for her." But I didn't answer. I had spent my whole life being there for everyone else. It was time to be there for myself. Then one day, I got a message from my cousin. He had always been kind, even if he didn't get involved before. He wrote, "I heard what happened. I'm proud of you for walking away. They never deserved you." I read the message over and over. My eyes filled with tears, but this time, not from pain. It was relief. Someone saw me. Someone understood. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. I got an email from my mother. It was short, cold, and straight to the point. I hope you're happy. You ruined this family. I read it once, then again, and then I laughed. She really believed I was the one who ruined everything. Not the years of treating me like I didn't matter. Not the way they used me, took from me, and expected me to give up everything for them. No, in her mind, I was the villain. Just because I finally chose myself. I didn't even reply. I deleted the email and continued with my day like nothing had happened. Months passed, and, to my surprise, I started to grow. I got promoted at work. I made real friends, people who liked me for me, not for what I could do for them. Slowly, I began to discover a version of myself I had never known. A version that didn't need anyone's approval. Then one day, something unexpected happened. I walked into a cafe, and just as I stepped inside, I heard a familiar voice. Oh my God. I turned around. It was Ruth. She looked different, tired, anxious, like someone who had never learned to stand on her own because she was always used to others carrying her. For a second, something old inside me stirred. A part of me wanted to ask if she was okay. That caring side I had always carried was still there, quiet but alive. But then I remembered she was no longer my responsibility. She opened her mouth, probably about to say something. But I didn't let her. I turned away, walked to the counter, and ordered my coffee. I could feel her eyes on me, watching, waiting, maybe even hoping I would look at her, say something, anything. But I didn't. She had spent years treating me like I was invisible. Now she finally knew what that felt like. That encounter left me feeling nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just peace. I used to think I'd always feel tied to them, that no matter how much they hurt me, I'd never be able to fully break free. But seeing Ruth standing there, lost, unsure, I realized something huge. I didn't owe her anything. Not a smile. Not a nod. Not even a kind look. She was no one to me now. And that freedom felt better than I ever imagined. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Not yet. Ruth wasn't the only one who wanted something. My mom was still out there, waiting. 4 days later, it happened. There was a knock on my door, loud and firm. I didn't even need to look. I already knew. It was her. I thought about ignoring it, leaving her out there in the cold, like she had done to me for years. But no. I opened the door. Because this time I wanted her to see me, really see me. Not as the quiet, scared girl she once controlled, but as the strong woman who had finally walked away. For good. I opened the door. My mother stood there, arms crossed, lips pressed into a thin line. You look well, she said. The words didn't sound kind. They sounded like an accusation, like she was angry that I was doing okay without her. I leaned against the doorframe, folded my arms, and asked, What do you want? She let out a sharp breath and looked away for a moment. Can I come in? No, I said. She flinched. It was the first time in my life I had ever said no to her. But I didn't owe her anything anymore. I had nothing left to give. She sighed and rubbed her forehead. Fine. We'll talk here. I didn't reply. I just let the silence hang in the air. I wanted her to feel uncomfortable, to realize that she didn't get to control me anymore. After a long pause, she cleared her throat. I know you've been avoiding us, but it's time to stop being childish. I almost laughed. Childish? Was choosing to walk away from the people who mocked me and used me childish? How is that childish? I asked, tilting my head. Her jaw tightened. We're family. We don't abandon each other. I looked at her, letting her words hang in the cold air between us. Then I said softly, You abandoned me a long time ago. She stared at me, and for the first time, she didn't know what to say. Her hands turned into fists. Her lips pressed even tighter together. She was trying to stay calm, but I could tell she hated this feeling, losing control. My mother had always shaped me into the quiet daughter who never argued, always gave, and asked for nothing. But that version of me was gone. I don't know what you're talking about, she finally said, voice clipped. We've always taken care of you. I shook my head. That's not true. Her eyes flickered. You called me pathetic, I said, keeping my voice calm. You and Ruth laughed about how I always put you first, even when you treated me badly. You said I was only useful when I was giving things up for you. Her face turned pale. You're not even denying it, I added. She exhaled loudly. I don't have time for this. No, I said firmly. You don't have time for me. You never did, unless you needed something. Her nostrils flared. That's not true. I folded my arms. So, you're just here to check in? Not to ask for anything?
She paused.
That pause told me everything I needed to know. She sighed and rubbed her temples, like she was the one in pain. Then finally, she dropped the act.
Fine, she snapped.
Yes, I need something.
Of course she did.
She stood taller, trying to act strong again. Ruth's struggling. She hasn't been the same since the wedding was canceled. I said nothing. Mom sighed. She needs help. Money. I let out a slow breath. You're unbelievable. She frowned. Excuse me? She treated me like dirt, I said, my voice steady but strong. She humiliated me, made fun of me, used me. And now that everything in her life is falling apart, you want me to come in and save her? She's your sister, Mom replied quickly. I let out a short, dry laugh.
No.
She's not. Mom's eyes widened a little. What do you mean? I don't have a sister, I said clearly. Not anymore. The words felt like fresh air, like freedom I had waited for my whole life. Mom's face turned cold. You're being cruel. No, I said, stepping closer to her. My voice was low, but firm. Cruel is what you did. Cruel is calling your own daughter pathetic behind her back. Cruel is asking me to give up my future just so Ruth could have a wedding she didn't even deserve. Mom pressed her lips tightly together. You're making a mistake. I smiled.
No.
For the first time in my life, I'm making the right choice. Then I took a step back and gently closed the door. The moment I heard the lock click, a wave of peace swept over me. For years, I had been their helper, their bank, their punching bag. But not anymore. I didn't check if she was still standing there outside. I didn't care. I turned around, walked to my couch, curled up with a blanket, and finally, I let myself breathe. Days passed. Then weeks. Mom never came back. Ruth didn't reach out either. And just like that, the weight I had carried for so long was gone. I started to grow. I traveled. I made real friends who cared about me, not because they needed something from me, but because they liked me. I began to live a life where I mattered. And not once did I miss them. Then one day, while walking through the city, I saw them again. Mom and Ruth were sitting together at a small cafe. Their faces looked tired and worn. Gone were the perfect smiles, the polished clothes. They looked like people who had finally realized what they had lost. I paused for just a second. Ruth's eyes met mine. She froze. Mom turned and saw me too. Her face was unreadable. For a moment, I wondered if they would come over. If they'd say sorry. But they didn't. They knew. I wasn't theirs anymore. So I turned and walked away, without looking back. I built a life for myself. A good life. One filled with people who loved me for who I am, not what I could give them. And as for my past, it faded away, just like the ghosts they had always been. I never looked back, and I never regretted it.